Lena had never seen colors. On her world, Virelia, everything appeared in shades of gray. The sky was always pale, the trees were dark, and the rivers looked like silver streaks. Most of the aliens around her never noticed this lack of color. For them, the world was normal. But Lena felt that something was missing. She often looked at the distant mountains or the smooth, shiny stones near the rivers, imagining that there must be something more hidden behind the gray. Her people had always told her that this was the way life was, that some things were not meant to be seen. But Lena could not accept that. She wanted to feel the brightness and the beauty she imagined in her mind. She had often sat near the riverbank, her small hands touching the cold water, wondering what it would be like if the water shimmered with blue or green. Sometimes she would stare at the clouds and imagine them pink or yellow or orange, even though everyone else only saw pale shapes. One day, a human ship appeared above the horizon. Lena had seen ships before, but this one was different. It was large, smooth, and it glowed softly. Its lights were bright, blinking in different shades she could not name. The ship landed on a flat plain near the forest, and Lena, hiding behind a rock, watched. She had never been this close to humans before. They were strange creatures with pale skin and bright eyes. They moved quickly, speaking in sounds Lena could not understand. Among the humans, one man caught her attention. He had short brown hair and kind eyes. He wore a blue suit that shimmered slightly under the sunlight. The way he moved, carefully touching objects and studying them, made Lena curious. She wanted to know what he was doing and why he seemed so different from her people. Hesitantly, she stepped out from behind the rock. The man noticed her immediately. He crouched down to her level and smiled. Lena froze. She did not know if he would be dangerous or friendly. Slowly, she raised her hand in greeting. The man raised his hand too, and she realized he was not threatening her. He pointed to himself and said, "Jack," then pointed to her and asked something she did not understand. Lena shook her head. She could not speak the same language, but she could nod or shake her head to communicate. Over the next few days, Lena followed Jack from a distance. She watched him carefully, noting how he touched strange tools and recorded what he saw. He carried devices that glowed and made quiet noises. Lena was fascinated by them. They were bright and shiny, unlike anything on Virelia. She wondered what they could do and why humans seemed to rely on them so much. Jack noticed her almost immediately. One morning, while collecting samples from the ground, he turned and saw Lena watching him. He did not startle or shout. Instead, he walked slowly toward her, keeping his hands visible and calm. Lena did not run. She stayed where she was, unsure of what to do. Jack smiled gently and crouched down, trying to appear less threatening. He pointed to her, then to his chest, and said, "Friend?" His voice was soft. Lena tilted her head, not knowing what he meant, but she nodded slowly. From that moment, a quiet understanding began to grow between them. Jack would leave small items on the ground, bright stones or glowing tools, and Lena would approach and touch them carefully. She could feel the texture and see the shapes, but she could not understand their colors. Jack would gesture, pointing to the items, drawing shapes in the dirt, trying to show her the difference between them. Lena watched closely, learning quickly. Her mind tried to imagine what these things might look like if they were colored, though she had no way to see them. Lena began to follow Jack more closely. She would walk alongside him during his work, staying a short distance away, careful not to touch anything he considered dangerous. She was amazed by the humans' technology, their small devices that could light up or play sounds. Sometimes Jack would laugh softly when Lena tried to touch the lights, and she would mimic his laughter, feeling a strange warmth in her chest. Jack was curious about her too. He had studied aliens before, but Lena was different. She seemed more aware, more curious about the world around her. One evening, he asked her to sit near him while he looked at a glowing device. He pointed to the device and then to her eyes, tilting his head. Lena shook her head, not understanding. Jack sighed softly and pulled out a small sketchbook. He drew simple shapes, circles, triangles, and lines, and then shaded them in ways he thought might show difference. Lena looked at the sketches, fascinated. Though she could not see colors, she could sense that these drawings were trying to tell her something new about the world. As days passed, Lena learned more about Jack's world. She learned how to open simple tools, how to move devices carefully, and how to follow Jack's gestures. He would point to the sky and gesture to the clouds, then gesture to her eyes, trying to explain that there was more to see than just shapes. Lena tried to understand, imagining that clouds could be bright or glowing. She felt a strange excitement, a feeling that something extraordinary might happen soon. One night, under the pale gray sky of Viralia, Lena and Jack sat quietly. He held a small glowing device, shining it near her eyes. Lena blinked against the light, unsure what to do. Jack smiled softly and touched her hand, reassuring her. Then he pointed to the sky and she looked up. He tapped her chest and then the glowing light, trying to show her a connection. Lena closed her eyes and tried to imagine what the sky would look like if it could glow like this device. She felt a strange happiness she had never known. Over the next week, Lena grew bolder. She would approach Jack directly, touching his tools and watching how he worked. He began to teach her small things, showing her how light could change shapes, how reflections could move across surfaces. Lena tried to copy him. Though she could not see the colors, she felt the patterns. Sometimes she would laugh when she discovered something new, and Jack would laugh too. Their friendship was growing, built not on words but on curiosity and understanding. Lena began to dream about what it might be like to see colors. She imagined the rivers sparkling in blue, the trees glowing green, and the sky filled with pinks and oranges. She did not know if it would ever happen, but she could feel hope growing inside her. Jack, noticing her fascination, started thinking of ways to help her. He knew that humans had technology to enhance vision, but Lena's eyes were different. It would be difficult, but he felt a deep desire to show her the world in a way she had never seen. One morning, Lena followed Jack to a bright open field. The grass was gray beneath her feet, but Jack was holding a small box filled with strange objects. He gestured to her to sit and opened the box carefully. Inside were lenses, small frames, and wires that glowed softly. Lena watched, her heart racing. She had never seen anything like this. Jack picked a small frame, held it to his eyes, and showed her the difference. She shook her head, not understanding, but her curiosity was overwhelming. Jack began working carefully, assembling the device slowly. Lena watched every movement, fascinated. He pointed to her eyes, then to the frame, then to the glowing light in the box. She felt that something important was happening. She could not see the result yet, but she could feel the change coming. For the first time in her life, Lena felt that the world she had imagined in her dreams might be real. When Jack finally held the small glasses toward her, Lena hesitated. She had never worn anything like this before, but something in Jack's kind eyes reassured her. Slowly, she reached out and took the glasses. She held them carefully, then placed them over her eyes. At first, everything was still gray, but then light shifted. The gray became deeper, brighter, and suddenly she saw it, a bright red flower near the field. The soft blue of the distant sky, the golden shimmer of the sun reflecting on the grass. Lena gasped, her small hands covering her mouth. Tears filled her eyes, spilling over onto her cheeks. She had never imagined anything could be so beautiful. Jack smiled softly, feeling a warm joy inside him. He had wanted to give her a gift, and now he had succeeded. Lena's tears were not of sadness, but of wonder, of happiness, and of a life changed forever. From that moment, Lena's world was no longer gray. She saw every detail in bright, vivid colors. She could not stop looking around, amazed at the beauty she had never known. Jack sat quietly, watching her discover the world. He knew this was only the beginning. For Lena, every day would now hold new colors, new shapes, and new wonders. And for Jack, the joy of giving someone the gift of vision was something he would never forget. Lena smiled at him through her tears, a small gesture of thanks that carried more meaning than words ever could. She knew that her life had changed forever. She could now see not only the world around her, but also the beauty that humans had always taken for granted. And deep inside, she felt a connection with Jack, a bond born of curiosity, trust, and the simple joy of sharing a first glimpse of the colorful universe. After the first time Lena saw colors, she could not stop thinking about them. Every morning she woke up and looked at the sky, the trees, and the river, and everything seemed new. The soft green of the grass, the bright blue of the river, the orange and pink shades in the clouds, each color felt like a small miracle. She had never known that the world could be so beautiful. She often ran her fingers over the leaves and flowers, trying to remember the colors, storing them in her mind. Jack noticed her fascination. He would watch her quietly, seeing her eyes light up as she discovered small details he had taken for granted. One day, he brought her a small box of colorful objects from his ship. There were bright red stones, deep blue glass spheres, and shiny yellow metal pieces. Lena gasped when she opened the box. She reached out and held the red stone, turning it gently in her hands. The color was more vibrant than anything she had imagined. Jack smiled at her excitement. Lena spent hours every day learning about colors. Jack tried to teach her simple words in English, pointing to objects and saying the colors. Red, he said, pointing to a small flower. Blue, he said, pointing to the glass sphere. Lena repeated the words slowly, her tongue awkwardly forming the sounds, but she tried hard. She wanted to learn, not just the colors, but the names too. She liked knowing that she could now talk about something she had never experienced before. Sometimes Lena would sit quietly, staring at the sky. She could not stop thinking about all the colors she had never known. Her mind imagined a rainbow stretching across the horizon, each color brighter than the last. She wanted to see more, to touch more, to feel the beauty all around her. She asked Jack with gestures and simple sounds if he could help her see more of the world. Jack nodded, understanding her desire. He promised that he would show her as much as he could. Jack decided to take Lena outside of the lab to explore. He wanted her to see the fields, the mountains, and the forests through her new glasses. Lena was excited and a little nervous. She had never been far from the human ship, and now she was going into the wide open world with someone she trusted. The first step outside was magical for her. The colors seemed brighter in the sunlight. She reached out to touch the green grass, and it felt warm and alive. She looked at the distant mountains and could see the shades of brown, gray, and soft blue blending together. As they walked, Lena asked questions with gestures, pointing to things she wanted to know about. Jack explained as best he could. When Lena pointed to the sky, he said, "Sunlight makes colors." When she pointed to the river, he said, "Water reflects colors." Lena listened carefully and tried to understand. Every answer made her feel closer to the world she had never truly seen. She began to notice small details, tiny flowers with petals of red and yellow, birds with blue and green feathers, and insects that shimmered like tiny jewels in the sunlight. Lena's curiosity did not stop there. She began to ask Jack why humans had so many colors in their world. Jack explained that it was nature, and it happened because of light and life. Lena tried to understand, her mind working hard to grasp a concept that was completely new to her. She imagined that on her planet everything had once been colorless, just like her eyes had known. Now she could see that the universe was filled with colors, each one more beautiful than the last. One day, while exploring a small forest, Lena found a flower unlike any she had seen. Its petals were a deep purple with a soft glow. She ran her fingers over it, feeling the smooth texture. "Purple?" she asked, pointing to it and looking at Jack. Jack nodded and smiled. "Yes, purple," he said. Lena's eyes widened. She had never imagined a color like this. She held the flower close, feeling its beauty and trying to remember it forever. She realized that every new color was a surprise, a gift she could never forget. As Lena explored, she began to notice something else. Color seemed to affect how she felt. When she looked at the blue sky, she felt calm. When she saw the red stones, her heart raced with excitement. The bright yellow flowers made her smile. She did not understand why colors could make her feel this way, but she liked it. She began to experiment, touching objects and watching their colors carefully. Sometimes she would hold a red stone in one hand and a blue glass sphere in the other, trying to feel the difference not just in color, but in the way it made her feel. Jack watched Lena with pride. He had never met an alien like her before, one so eager to learn and explore. He realized that showing her colors was more than giving her glasses. It was opening her mind to a new way of seeing, a new way of experiencing life. Jack began to think about how many other aliens might never see the beauty of the universe. Perhaps one day he could help them too. For now he focused on Lena, enjoying her laughter, her wonder, and the way she touched the world with curiosity and joy. Lena's days became filled with adventure. She discovered the way sunlight shone on different surfaces, how shadows changed the colors, and how reflections could make them dance. She ran through the fields, her small feet brushing against the soft grass, watching the sunlight create patterns of gold and green. She laughed at the reflections in the river, and Jack laughed too, enjoying her happiness. For Lena, every day was a new discovery, and every discovery brought new colors, new feelings, and new excitement. Sometimes, Lena would grow quiet, sitting alone under a tree and staring at the sky. She thought about the time before she could see colors. The gray world seemed so distant now, almost like a dream she had once had. She realized how much she had missed, but she also felt grateful for the gift she had received. Lena began to understand that life could hold wonders that she had never imagined. She wanted to explore everything, to touch everything, to see every detail of the universe. Jack began to teach Lena more than colors. He showed her how light could mix to make new colors, how shadows could change their shade, and how different surfaces could reflect light in unique ways. Lena listened carefully, absorbing every detail. She asked questions constantly, sometimes pointing to objects and making sounds to express her curiosity. Jack answered as best he could, smiling at her determination. Together, they discovered the small magic hidden in everyday things, and Lena felt that her world had grown much larger than she had ever dreamed. One afternoon, Lena found a small patch of flowers near the river. They were tiny and delicate, with petals of red, yellow, and orange. She knelt carefully and touched each one, feeling the differences. She held them close to her face and smiled. Jack approached quietly, watching her reaction. "Beautiful," he said softly. Lena nodded, unable to speak the word in English yet, but understanding its meaning. She had never known such beauty could exist. She wanted to remember every color, every shade, every moment. Lena began to notice changes in herself. Colors made her feel emotions she had never felt before. Joy, excitement, curiosity, and even a little sadness. All were stronger now that she could see. Sometimes, when a color was very bright or very soft, she would close her eyes, feeling the emotion flow through her. Jack noticed this and realized that colors were not just for seeing, they were for feeling. Lena was learning to experience life in a completely new way, and Jack felt proud to be part of her journey. As the days passed, Lena grew more confident. She explored farther from the ship, sometimes alone, sometimes with Jack. She discovered small creatures with bright scales, birds that sang and shimmered, and plants that seemed to glow under the sunlight. Each discovery filled her with excitement and wonder. She wanted to touch everything, see everything, and feel everything. Jack encouraged her carefully, always guiding her without limiting her curiosity. One evening, Lena sat by the river watching the sun set. The sky turned shades of orange, pink, and purple, and the reflection in the water created a mirror of colors. Lena gasped softly, feeling tears form in her eyes. She had never known anything so beautiful. Jack sat beside her quietly, watching her reaction. He did not need words. The moment was perfect, filled with color, feeling, and silent understanding. Lena turned to him and smiled, a smile filled with joy and gratitude. Lena's journey with colors was only beginning, but already her world had changed completely. She had discovered a beauty she had never imagined, learned about light, shadow, and reflection, and experienced emotions she had never felt before. Jack had given her a gift far greater than glasses. He had opened her mind, her heart, and her eyes to the wonders of the universe. Lena knew that her life would never be the same, and she was excited for every new discovery that lay ahead. Lena's life had changed completely since she first wore the glasses. Every day she discovered new colors and new feelings. The world was no longer gray. It was filled with shades she had never imagined. Reds, blues, yellows, and greens danced around her eyes. Even the soft gray she had known now seemed richer, almost like a background for all the new colors. She could not stop looking at everything, touching everything, and trying to remember each shade. Jack noticed her excitement and decided it was time to help her explore even more. He wanted Lena to experience things beyond the lab and the nearby fields. One morning, he packed a small bag with supplies and pointed to the sky. Lena understood immediately. They were going on an adventure. Her small heart raced with excitement. She had never traveled far before, and now she would see the world in ways she had only imagined in her dreams. They walked for hours, crossing rivers and climbing small hills. Lena stopped often, crouching to touch plants and stones, observing their colors closely. Jack would smile and point to different objects, naming the colors and shapes. Lena repeated the words carefully, learning them slowly. Sometimes she would trip or fall, but Jack was always there to help. She felt safe with him, and the trust between them grew stronger with every step. In a small clearing, Lena found a tree she had never seen before. Its bark was soft gray, but the leaves were bright green with yellow tips. She reached out to touch them, feeling the smooth texture. Jack knelt beside her and pointed to the leaves. "Green," he said. "Yellow." Lena repeated the word slowly, her eyes wide with wonder. She could not stop smiling. For her, this tree was a miracle, a piece of beauty that she had never imagined existed. As they continued, Lena noticed a small stream flowing through the forest. The water sparkled in shades of blue and silver, reflecting the sunlight. She leaned over and touched it gently, watching the colors dance on the surface. Jack showed her how to catch small reflections in her hand using the water. Lena laughed when the blue shimmered in her palm, feeling like she held a piece of the sky itself. She realized that colors could move, change, and play, and this made her even more excited to explore. Lena's curiosity grew stronger each day. She wanted to know why colors existed, why some things were bright and others were soft, why the sky turned orange at sunset. Jack tried to explain using simple words and gestures. He pointed to the sun, then to the sky, making a round shape with his hands. Lena nodded, trying to understand. She could not fully grasp everything, but she felt the idea in her heart. Colors were more than what she could see. They were part of the world, part of life, and part of her own feelings. One afternoon, Lena discovered a small patch of flowers hidden behind a rock. They were tiny, with petals of red, orange, and pink. She knelt and touched each one carefully, memorizing the colors and textures. Jack knelt beside her, pointing to each flower and naming the colors. Lena repeated the words, laughing when she struggled. She loved this game of learning and discovery. Every flower, every leaf, every stone was a new lesson, and she wanted to learn everything. While exploring the forest, Lena noticed small creatures she had never seen before. Birds with bright blue and green feathers flew above her head. Small insects shimmered with yellow and red patterns on their wings. Lena reached out, trying to touch them carefully. Jack reminded her to be gentle. She smiled and watched the creatures dance around her, their colors reflecting in her eyes. She realized that the world was full of life, and each living thing had its own color, its own beauty. Lena also began to understand emotions in a new way. Colors seemed to change how she felt. Bright red made her heart race with excitement. Soft blue made her calm. Yellow made her happy and cheerful. She noticed that when she looked at the forest in the morning, the green and gold of the leaves made her feel peaceful. When the sunset painted the sky with red and orange, she felt warmth and wonder. She told Jack through gestures that colors could make her feel in ways she had never imagined. Jack smiled, understanding perfectly. Sometimes Lena grew tired and sat under a tree to rest. She would close her eyes and remember the colors she had seen. She tried to picture them in her mind, to remember every shade. She realized that colors were not just for seeing. They were for feeling, for imagining, and for remembering. Jack would sit beside her, quietly watching, letting her rest. He did not need to speak. Lena's mind was full of wonder, and Jack felt proud to be part of her journey. One day, they came across a small hill with a perfect view of the valley below. Lena climbed carefully, her small hands gripping rocks and plants. When she reached the top, she looked out and gasped. The valley was filled with colors she had never imagined. The trees were green, the flowers were red, yellow, and purple, and the river sparkled like silver. The sky above was soft blue with hints of pink from the clouds. Lena could not stop staring. She felt tears fill her eyes. She had never known such beauty existed in the world. Jack knelt beside her and pointed to different parts of the valley, naming the colors and objects. Lena repeated the words slowly, but her eyes stayed on the view. She realized that colors could make her feel happy, calm, excited, and even a little sad all at once. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. She understood that life was bigger and more beautiful than she had ever imagined. As the sun began to set, the colors in the valley changed again. The sky turned orange and pink, and the sunlight reflected on the river, making it glow like gold. Lena's eyes widened, and she felt a strange warmth in her heart. She looked at Jack and smiled through her tears. He smiled back, knowing that this moment would stay in her memory forever. Lena understood that this gift, the ability to see colors, was more than just glasses. It was a key to a new life, a new world, and a new way of feeling everything around her. After the sun disappeared behind the mountains, Lena and Jack made their way back to the human ship. Lena was quiet, her mind full of colors and emotions. She touched objects along the way. noticing the small details in each one. Jack walked beside her, giving her space to explore while keeping her safe. He felt proud of how far she had come, how curious and brave she was. He realized that colors had changed her life, but she had also changed his. He had learned to see the world through her eyes, to appreciate the wonder of discovery in a way he had forgotten as a human. That night, Lena could not sleep. She lay on a soft blanket, looking at the stars through the ship's glass ceiling. The stars were not just white, they were shades of gold, silver, and soft blue. She traced them with her finger, feeling their colors and imagining their stories. She thought about all the things she had seen that day, from the small flowers to the vast valley. She realized that every moment could hold beauty if she paid attention, and that life was full of surprises waiting to be discovered. Lena also began to think about the future. She wanted to see more, explore more, and learn more. She wondered if other aliens could see colors like she did. She wondered if humans could help them too. She knew that she wanted to share this experience, not just for herself, but for everyone who had never known the beauty of colors. Jack had given her a gift, and she wanted to use it to bring wonder to others. The next morning, Lena was up early. She ran outside, her glasses in place, eager to see the world in the fresh sunlight. Every leaf, every stone, every creature seemed brighter than the day before. Jack joined her, carrying a small notebook and some tools. He wanted to continue teaching her about colors, light, and reflections. Lena's excitement was contagious. She laughed, pointing to the sunlight hitting a stone, to the shadows on the trees, to the birds flying above. She wanted to remember everything, to experience everything. As the days passed, Lena's knowledge of colors grew. She learned that some colors could mix to make new shades. She learned that light and shadow could change the way colors appeared. She began to notice patterns in nature, the way certain colors always appeared together. Jack encouraged her, asking questions and pointing to examples. Lena's mind was full of curiosity, and she never stopped exploring. Lena's journey with colors had opened her heart and mind. She realized that the world was full of beauty waiting to be seen, and that every day could bring new surprises. She felt a deep gratitude to Jack, who had given her this gift, and she wanted to honor it by exploring, learning, and sharing what she discovered. For Lena, life had become a colorful adventure, and every moment was filled with wonder. Lena had grown braver with each day she spent exploring the world with Jack. Colors were now a part of her life, and she could not imagine returning to the gray she had known. Every morning she ran outside, her small hands reaching for the leaves, flowers, and stones, touching them gently and examining their colors. The world had become a playground of light, shadow, and emotion. She laughed freely, sometimes spinning around just to see the sun catch the leaves and make them shine. Jack watched her closely, always careful, but letting her explore as much as possible. He had begun to notice how Lena's understanding of colors was more than just seeing. She could feel them. She noticed patterns, changes in light, and the way certain shades made her feel. One day, as she walked through a field of tall grass, she paused and ran her fingers along a stalk. She smiled and looked at Jack. He knew she had discovered something new. She pointed to the sunlight shining on the grass, and he nodded, understanding. Lena was learning quickly. Jack decided it was time to teach her more about the way light and colors interacted. He pulled out a small prism from his bag and held it up to the sunlight. Lena watched as a rainbow appeared on the ground, colors spreading in a perfect arc. Her eyes widened and she gasped softly. She knelt down and touched the colors, trying to remember each one. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet danced in front of her. She had never imagined something could look like this. Jack smiled and pointed to each color, saying their names slowly. Lena repeated them carefully over and over until she could say them clearly. After the rainbow, Lena became fascinated with reflections. Jack showed her how water could reflect the sky and the trees, creating a mirror image. Lena leaned over the river, her eyes wide with wonder. She reached out to touch the water, watching the reflection ripple and change with each movement. She laughed when the colors seemed to dance and mix. Jack laughed too, enjoying her excitement. Together they spent hours experimenting, learning how sunlight, shadow, and reflection could change what they saw. Lena began to notice things she had never realized before. Some flowers seemed brighter in the morning, while others glowed more in the afternoon sunlight. The sky was a different color at every hour. Even rocks had shades she had never imagined. She pointed to them constantly, asking Jack what they were. He explained carefully, naming each shade and teaching her to compare them. Lena was curious, always asking questions, never satisfied with what she already knew. Jack admired her determination and felt proud to be her guide. One afternoon, Lena discovered a small cave near the edge of the forest. She peeked inside, holding her hands over her eyes to adjust to the darkness. The walls were rough and gray, but when sunlight shone through small cracks, Lena noticed streaks of color, reds, oranges, and yellows glowing faintly. She gasped in wonder and ran her fingers over the walls, feeling the texture and trying to imagine the colors more clearly. Jack knelt beside her, pointing to the streaks and explaining how light could create colors even in shadowed places. Lena listened carefully, absorbing every detail. As Lena explored more, she began to notice how colors could tell stories. The red of the sunset told her the day was ending. The blue of the river made her feel calm and peaceful. The green of the leaves made her feel alive and happy. She began to understand that colors were not just something to see. They were part of life, part of emotion, and part of the world's story. Jack watched her quietly, realizing how much she had grown. She was learning to see not just with her eyes, but with her heart. Lena also became more confident in her movements. She climbed small hills, crossed streams, and ran through the fields with ease. Her small hands reached for leaves, flowers, and rocks, always exploring and discovering new colors. Jack walked beside her, carrying supplies but allowing her to lead the way. He knew that every new place would be a lesson for her, every new sight a discovery. Lena's laughter echoed through the fields, mixing with the sounds of birds and insects. The world had never felt so alive. One evening, as the sun began to set, Lena climbed a small hill to watch the colors in the sky. Jack followed quietly, letting her have the moment to herself. The sky was filled with shades of orange, pink, and purple, blending into one another like a painting. Lena's eyes widened and tears filled her cheeks. She had never seen anything so beautiful. She turned to Jack, her small hands covering her mouth, and smiled through her tears. Jack smiled back, feeling a warm joy inside him. He had given her the gift of seeing colors, but he realized now that she had also given him a new way to see the world, through wonder and curiosity. After the sunset, Lena and Jack walked back toward the ship. Lena was quiet, her mind full of colors and emotions. She touched objects along the way, noticing the differences in shade, texture, and reflection. Jack walked beside her, feeling proud of how far she had come. He thought about how much the gift of vision had changed her life, and how much it had changed his. He realized that showing her the colors was more than a scientific experiment. It was a way to connect, to teach, and to share the beauty of life. Lena began to understand that she could remember colors even without seeing them. At night, she would lie on her blanket and close her eyes, picturing the bright red flowers, the soft blue river, and the golden sunlight. She imagined each color, feeling it in her heart. She realized that colors were not just something the eyes saw, they were something the mind and heart could feel. Jack noticed her quiet moments and understood that she was learning to live fully in the world, using all her senses to experience life. Over the next few days, Lena explored farther from the ship. She discovered small creatures like birds with bright blue wings and insects with shimmering red and yellow patterns. She watched them carefully, pointing to their colors and asking Jack about them. Jack explained gently, naming each shade and showing her how to notice the details. Lena learned quickly, memorizing patterns and even trying to imitate some of the colors with small stones and plants. She created small arrangements of color, showing Jack with pride. He smiled, impressed by her creativity and curiosity. Lena also began to notice how the colors changed with the weather. On sunny days, the greens, blues, and yellows were bright and sharp. On cloudy days, they were soft and muted. After rain, everything shimmered and the colors seemed to glow with freshness. Lena touched the wet leaves, feeling their smooth surface, and looked at the puddles, seeing the reflections of the sky and trees. Jack explained that light and water could create effects that changed colors, and Lena tried to understand, her mind full of wonder. One afternoon, Lena found a small patch of wildflowers growing near a hill. They were tiny but full of color, red, yellow, blue, and orange. She knelt down and touched each flower carefully, memorizing the colors and their shapes. Jack pointed to each one, naming the colors and explaining how sunlight made them appear brighter. Lena repeated the words, smiling, and then carefully arranged the flowers in a small circle. She looked at her work and felt proud. She realized that she could not only see colors, but she could also create little moments of beauty herself. As days passed, Lena's understanding of colors became deeper. She noticed how they could tell stories, how they could change with time and light, and how they could affect feelings. She realized that the world was full of life and emotion, and every color had a place in it. Jack noticed her growth and felt proud. He had started with a small gift, glasses to let her see colors, but now he saw her learning to experience the world in a way that no one had imagined before. Lena began to dream about the future. She wanted to see more, learn more, and share what she had discovered. She thought about other aliens on her planet who had never seen colors, and wondered if they could also experience the beauty she now knew. She wanted to explore, teach, and share. Jack listened to her ideas and encouraged her, showing her that curiosity and wonder were powerful tools. Together they imagined a world where every alien could see the universe in all its beauty. By the time night fell, Lena was exhausted but happy. She lay on her blanket, staring at the stars through the ship's glass ceiling. The stars were not white. They were shades of gold, silver, and soft blue. She traced them with her finger, imagining their colors and stories. She thought about the day's discoveries, the flowers, the birds, the river, and the hills. She realized that every moment could hold beauty if she paid attention, and that life was full of surprises waiting to be discovered. Lena understood now that colors were more than something to see. They were a way to experience the world, to feel life, and to connect with others. She looked at Jack and smiled, grateful for the gift he had given her and excited for the adventures still ahead. She knew that her life had changed forever, and she was ready to explore every corner of her colorful, beautiful world. Lena had changed more than she could have imagined. The world was no longer gray, and every day was filled with new colors, new feelings, and new discoveries. She woke up each morning eager to explore, her small hands brushing over leaves, flowers, and stones, remembering each shade she had seen before. She laughed freely and ran through the fields, feeling alive in a way she never had before. Jack watched her closely, smiling at her excitement. He had given her a gift, glasses that allowed her to see colors, but he realized that the true gift was in Lena's curiosity and willingness to explore. She had taken something small and simple and had turned it into a world full of wonder. Jack felt proud and happy to be part of her life. He knew that Lena's journey had only just begun. One morning, Lena woke early and ran outside. The sky was pale at first, then slowly brightened with shades of orange and pink as the sun rose. She gasped softly, holding her hands over her mouth. She had seen sunrises before, but this one felt different, full of new colors and emotion. She turned to Jack, her eyes wide with excitement, and pointed to the sky. Jack smiled and nodded, encouraging her to explore. Lena ran across the fields, reaching out to touch the grass, the flowers, and the small insects that glimmered in the sunlight. She noticed patterns in the colors she had never seen before, the way green leaves seemed brighter near yellow flowers, or how the blue sky reflected in the river and created a soft, purple shade on the water. Every discovery made her heart beat faster. She wanted to see everything, touch everything, and feel every color in the world. Jack followed her quietly, giving her freedom but keeping her safe. He had brought small tools and notebooks, showing her how to record what she saw. Lena was fascinated. She began to make small sketches of the colors, using stones, flowers, and leaves to create little arrangements that matched what she had seen. Jack helped her name each shade and showed her how to observe details carefully. Lena loved these lessons and learned quickly. As the days passed, Lena grew more confident in her understanding of colors. She could identify shades and patterns, notice how sunlight and shadow affected them, and predict how they might change during the day. She began to teach Jack about what she saw, pointing out details he had never noticed before. Jack realized that Lena was not only learning, she was teaching him too. He began to see the world in a new way, noticing the small wonders he had taken for granted. One afternoon, Lena and Jack discovered a small meadow filled with wildflowers. The flowers were red, yellow, orange, purple, and blue, each one brighter than the next. Lena knelt carefully, touching each petal, memorizing the colors and their textures. She arranged them in small circles and patterns, creating little pieces of art on the ground. Jack watched, impressed by her creativity and attention to detail. Lena smiled at him, proud of her work. She realized that colors were not just something to see, they could also be something to create. Lena began to notice how colors affected emotions more deeply. Red made her feel excitement, yellow made her happy, blue made her calm, and green made her feel alive. She experimented with combining colors to see how they made her feel. Sometimes she would hold a red stone in one hand and a blue leaf in the other. Noticing the difference in emotion, Jack encouraged her, explaining how humans had learned to understand the emotional power of colors over thousands of years. Lena listened carefully, fascinated by the idea. Over time, Lena began to think about her people. She wondered if other aliens could experience colors like she did. She remembered the gray world she had once known and realized how much beauty they were missing. She wanted to share this gift not for herself, but for everyone who had never seen the world in color. Jack listened to her ideas and encouraged her, helping her plan small experiments to bring the gift of vision to others. One day, Lena and Jack returned to the small cave she had discovered weeks earlier. The sunlight streamed through cracks in the walls, creating streaks of color on the rough stone. Lena knelt down, touching the streaks gently and observing the shades. Jack explained how light could create colors even in shadowed places. Lena realized that colors were everywhere if one knew how to look. She wanted to teach others how to see, how to feel, and how to appreciate the beauty around them. As the days turned into weeks, Lena's knowledge of colors grew deeper. She could identify shades, notice changes with light and shadow, and even predict how colors would shift during the day. She began to explore more distant parts of the forest, climbing hills, crossing streams, and discovering small creatures with bright wings or shimmering bodies. Each discovery filled her with joy and wonder. She realized that life was full of beauty waiting to be seen, and that every moment could hold something extraordinary. Jack and Lena began to work on a small project together. They created simple devices to help other young aliens see colors. Lena was fascinated by the process, watching carefully as Jack designed lenses and frames that could adjust to different eyes. She helped him test small prototypes, learning how light, reflection, and shade affected what one could see. Together they experimented, laughed, and learned. Lena realized that sharing this knowledge was even more rewarding than discovering colors for herself. One afternoon, Lena and Jack returned to the valley where she had first seen the sunset. She climbed the same small hill, her heart racing with excitement. The valley was filled with shades she had come to recognize, but the sunset added new colors, blending oranges, pinks, and purples into a perfect display. Lena gasped, her eyes filling with tears. She had never felt so overwhelmed by beauty. She turned to Jack, smiling through her tears, and he smiled back, knowing that this moment would stay with her forever. Lena began to understand the full meaning of her gift. Seeing colors was not just about vision, it was about connection, emotion, creativity, and discovery. She realized that the world was full of wonder, and that humans and aliens alike could share in its beauty. She felt a deep gratitude to Jack, who had given her this gift, and a desire to share it with others. She wanted every alien to experience the joy, the emotion, and the excitement of seeing colors for the first time. As night fell, Lena and Jack sat quietly under the stars. The sky was filled with shades of gold, silver, and soft blue. Lena traced the stars with her finger, imagining their colors and stories. She thought about the days they had spent exploring, learning, and discovering. She realized that her life had changed forever, that colors had opened her mind and heart to a world of beauty she had never known. She turned to Jack and smiled, a smile full of gratitude, happiness, and hope. In the following weeks, Lena began to share her knowledge. She helped other young aliens learn about colors, showing them how to use simple devices to enhance their vision. She explained the emotional power of colors, the way light and shadow could change them, and how to appreciate the beauty around them. Jack assisted her, proud of how far she had come. Lena's work inspired others to explore, learn, and see the world differently. Lena continued to discover new things every day. She noticed how colors could change with weather, how reflections could create new shades, and how light could transform ordinary objects into something extraordinary. She explored rivers, forests, hills, and valleys, always eager to find something new. Jack followed her, guiding her carefully but allowing her to take the lead. They laughed, learned, and shared in the joy of discovery together. One morning, Lena found a small cluster of flowers growing near a stream. They were bright and delicate, with petals of red, yellow, blue, and orange. She knelt carefully, touching each one and memorizing the colors. She arranged them in small patterns on the ground, creating little works of art. Jack watched, smiling at her creativity and dedication. Lena realized that colors were not just to see, they could be used to create. express and share beauty with others. As days turned into months, Lena grew more confident, more curious, and more skilled in her understanding of colors. She explored further, teaching others, discovering new shades, and experiencing emotions through the world around her. Jack realized that the gift of vision he had given her had transformed her life completely. Lena had become a bridge between humans and aliens, a symbol of curiosity, wonder, and hope. Finally, Lena understood that colors were more than vision. They were feelings, connections, and stories. They were a way to experience life fully and to share beauty with others. She looked at Jack one evening, holding a small flower in her hand, and smiled. She had come far from the gray world she had known. She had discovered joy, wonder, and creativity. She had learned that life was more beautiful than she had ever imagined, and she was ready to explore every corner of it. Jack smiled back, proud and happy. He had given Lena a gift, but in return she had given him something even greater: the chance to see the world through her eyes, to rediscover wonder, and to share in the joy of a life filled with color. Together they watched the sunset, the sky ablaze with shades Lena could now name, and the world seemed full of endless possibility. Lena's journey had begun with simple glasses, but it ended with something far greater. She had discovered beauty, learned to feel emotions through colors, and shared her knowledge with others. She had grown braver, wiser, and more curious, and as she looked at the world,